Life is good. Enjoy the ride. Now for the video you've all been waiting for, the introduction to the Pipulate free and open source product for SEO, and I'll probably do this again later, try and get it a little more slick with an actual script, but I have my Google Slides in a state where I'm pretty happy with, so let's get started. Pipulate, collect data into spreadsheets magically. The situation. One day you find yourself having to collect data off of the internet to keep some records. What's worse, you have to do it over and over again and with almost no budget. So you do have some choices. You can just compulsively check those pages, copy and paste the metrics, put them somewhere, or you can use expensive monitoring services or kind of glue and tape together some other crazy solution. And wouldn't it be nice if that spreadsheet that you're pasting these things into anyway could just fill itself in? It's kind of like the dream, isn't it? Well, with a little help from Pipulate, they can. You just set up your spreadsheet like this, where you put the list of URLs you want to look up against, and then the things you want to check about it, and question marks in the cells that you want filled in. You have to go to pipulate.com and grab a bookmarklet, although that's only going to be available for a small number of people because I'm not going to pay for everyone to do pipulating, and I'm going to be teaching everyone how to set up their own server. But once you get the bookmarklet from pipulate.com and you click it, it'll prompt you to log in using your Google login. It's a great way to do it. No usernames or passwords are saved anywhere. And then you can start pipulating, and it will set everything up for you for a first example and then start filling the numbers in for you. And it's really that simple. The column names are the names of the functions, and the rows represent your input to the function. And there you have it. These numbers weren't there a second ago. I'll have to remember to bring little banana man in front of the yellow. Oh, well, there's a lot of drinking the Google Kool-Aid here. We're using Google spreadsheets to store the data and almost using it in a database fashion. And I say in for a penny, in for a pound. You're monitoring how well you're doing in Google services so much anyway. Let's use Google's infrastructure for our own use. And to show just how wise this is, the best advice I can do is watch this demo and set up a Pipulate document for yourself with whatever your favorite metric you like to follow is, and get addicted. So what kind of things can Pipulate collect? This slide has a few more things listed than is currently in the code in GitHub, but it can do Facebook likes and shares, it can grab your Twitter followers and your counts of how many times a page was tweeted, plus ones, you can read yourself, YouTube views, all the rest of that. And with SEO, you can do search rank positions. You can grab your own SERPs running at a low enough level where it's no big deal. You can get page rank of pages, title and metadata you can read. And to learn the function names when you start to use Pipulate, you just go into the Scrapers tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet, and you can see all the names of the different scrapers that are there. Hey, wait a minute, does that mean you can just copy and paste these and adjust these patterns of XPath and regular expressions and make your own scraper functions? Why, yes you can. But what about scheduling? Well, you remember those question marks we talked about a second ago? All you do is change the question marks into asterisks and add these two additional columns, date timestamp and count. And now you invite in a special Gmail address, and on an hourly or daily basis, I would recommend a daily so your spreadsheet doesn't fill up too much. It does the question mark replacement and just flows it right in, and it just keeps getting longer like a log file. So again, favoring daily or even weekly is best so your spreadsheets don't fill up too fast. And how much does all this cost? Well, it's free, because Pipulate is part of the free and open source software movement. What's more, it's going to try to start to ease you into learning a little bit of Python programming. What? I just wanted SEO metrics monitoring. Well, the Venn diagram, the people who I expect will be interested in this are a combination of us SEO and social media marketers, influence marketers, content marketers, that whole mix. And then the people who are trying to learn to get started programming or maybe become a little more technical. Python's the perfect language for that. And then finally, and most oddly, it took me a while to realize this is what I was going after, are those people who are exploring low-cost computing alternatives that are now possible thanks to the Internet of Things and Raspberry Pis and really tiny computers. And so why would you even run your own server? Like I said, I'm not going to pay for you to use Pipulate because it's easier and better to distribute web traffic around the planet in a distributed model like this so that all crawls don't look like they're coming from my own servers and one tiny small set of IPs. This mixes it up quite a bit. And finally, because it's just so darn easy, there's no reason not to. It's cheaper in the long run, and you might learn something. The cloud providers really don't want you to know how easy it is to set up your own server. And once you get the knack of it, it's lather, rinse, and repeat, and it's just no big deal, and pretty soon you have your own personal cloud or data center. And how much does it cost to do this? Well, if you use my Linux virtual machine called Levinix, it's free, and you can just start running your own Pipulate server on your desktop right now. 20 megabyte download, let it expand. It takes 10 minutes to build, but it's going to be really slow. The alternative are things like Amazon and Rackspace and a few others where you can get really as low as $5 a month for a cloud server. But why do that when after 7 months you could have paid for your own Raspberry Pi and just plug it in behind your Wi-Fi router at home and run it just like a headless server? Pipulate will run just as well on that as these bottom of the barrel virtual servers out there, cloud servers. If you want to go a step higher, you can stay on the cheap ARM hardware and go for something like a CU box, a Q box from, let's see, well, I forget the name of that company. It's an Israeli company that has a line of these tiny microcomputers, Solid Run, that's it. And it's $100 more than the Raspberry Pi, but it is prettier and faster and looks a little bit better behind your Wi-Fi router. And by the time I get up to this point in the demo, some portion of you are going to be just completely lost, and others are going to be angry and sort of like upset with the things I'm saying. It happens surprisingly more often than you would think. And if that is you, move along. Plenty of other things for you. This is for people who something to this point was ringing true with by this time, because there are others who will understand. There's some good stuff going on here. In fact, a new era of SEO is upon us. Goodbye spam cannons. Hello, the perfect storm for tech-enabled earned media. Next-gen SEO. What? What are you talking about? Well, because everyone needs a perfect payload. SEO doesn't work unless the things you're trying to get found in search are truly worthy of it. So your product either has to be genuinely superior than other things like it on the market, maybe idiosyncratically different, or the content that promotes it itself has to be best in the world. One or the other, the thing you're peddling or the materials you're using to do the peddling has to be on a URL that doesn't change over time, easily shareable, have the on-page stuff taken care of, da-da-da-da. And that is the odd profession of SEO. We pack those payloads. We make things worthy of being shared and tell you if it's not. And we do practice what we preach. I've got some peers out there who've done this long ago. They're doing with things like Whiteboard Fridays and Chrome extensions for doing SEO audits and such. And I think it's finally time for me to do my contribution. So I present to the world Pipulate. I'm really just connecting the dots. Those dots are a whole bunch of different things I use on a daily basis. These are them. And together, they can all actually be gathered into almost a 20 megabyte download. From a modern internet perspective, that's like boop, it's downloaded. It's not even like the size of a video clip or even some photos these days with their big pixel stuff. So anyway, that 20 megabyte download expands. It builds itself into a tiny little server that's a lot like embedded systems, and every time I think about it, it reminds me of the lightsaber. You can build it, you can go hardcore and do Linux from scratch, but you don't have to. You can do it the way I do it, which is just taking the popular small components of each of these and get really expert at it, and it becomes something that will be with you on a lifetime journey, because this stuff has been around 40 years ago. The stuff that today's versions have evolved from, 40 years old. And you know what? It's going to be around in another 40 years because it's the underlying plumbing of tech. It's the stuff that always enables your code to run. And by this time, aren't I talking about something much bigger than SEO? Yes, indeed. This is about making marketing professionals more capable and children more interested in technology, which is the special connection to me because I have a kid and I want to get her ready for the future. And core technology is, well, it's core. It is as part of education as the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And in fact, it is the 4th R, programming. So how does Python plug into this Pipulate thing that I'm talking about? Well, it's really easy to get Python running on your own system, and any standalone function that you do, something that can take some input and look something up on the internet and return a value, is plug-in ready into Pipulate. Any standalone Python function is a plug-in to Pipulate, and then it just magically becomes available as one of the column function names. I'll have to fix the spacing here, but this function you're looking at is how you pull Google Pluses. And I'm going to be taking you from doing a little bit of programming to supercharge your spreadsheets to running your own servers using virtual machines on your desktop to try and just cut your teeth on it, get the first version free without even any purchase of hardware, then to move you on to some cheap hardware, things like the Raspberry Pi and the Qbox, and then if applicable, the cloud. The cloud is nice, but if you start out on the cloud, you don't know things as well as you should. You should start on your own hardware and really get a feel for the bare minimum stuff that needs to be there for you to get your code running and to have interesting things happening out there on the internet. When the time is right, you can instantiate 10,000, 100,000 instances of your small footprint code out on the web, in the cloud, on these, massive data centers from all these vendors. But you won't be reliant on them. That's a choice you get to make. And you could even have code running that's not even on the internet proper. Anyway, do me a favor, will you? If you think I'm onto something here, get this project in your crosshairs and share it, like it, +1 it, and all that happy stuff. Because if you want to collect data magically into your spreadsheets, show me that this is of interest to you. Show my bosses this is of interest to you. Make a comment storm so that everyone can see that this is actually as interesting as it might appear from watching this demo. And we're at Alpha 1.0, so just go to Pipulate.com, grab that bookmarklet, watch this demo there, open a Google spreadsheet, use the bookmarklet, and all the stuff I showed you, you'll start to be able to do, and I will be reaching out to you shortly. So let me end this by just showing you Pipulate working. I make a new spreadsheet. I give that spreadsheet a name. Demo for you. And I have the bookmarklet here already, but I'm just going to delete it so that I can actually open another tab, go to Pipulate.com, drag the bookmarklet there exactly the way you'll be doing. Go back here, click the Pipulate bookmarklet, log into Pipulate. Oh, I got a lot of users here, don't I? There we go. Accept. Start pipulating and watch the bottom left of this sheet as new tabs appear. Well, data goes in, and then some new tabs will appear as it checks out whether I have all the various required tabs, documentation, the config tab, scrapers tab. Now I would surf away and show you these tabs, but it's about to do its little magic right on the native sheet to show you how trending gets started. Now I'm getting rid of these nones, but the point is that it's going ahead and replacing the question marks with the data that it's pulling, pipulating row 6, row 7, row 8. And you can actually see it pull the data. This little thing here is literally the data that it has processed, and you might see it appear here ahead of it doing the insert here. And this is a step on the way to teach you a little bit of programming. I want to show you what data looks like in its JSON format as it gets zipped back and forth around the internet. Now you'll see here that a couple of the question marks have not actually been replaced, and there is the GData API back there, which is not perfect. So when it's scheduled, it's actually going to be attempting more than one time on each cycle. So any non-replaced question marks actually do get replaced. But you'll see how now it's not going to duplicate those sets of rows that were set up by the asterisks. Instead, it's just going to do question mark replacement. And you can see the little lock turning red here, meaning it's actually communicating with GData. Whenever that lock goes red, it's communicating with GData. So if things are going wrong with the communication with Google, I try and make it very clear to you. Tap, 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 something going wrong. And you can wait it out. It's going to retry a few times. But you can also always just close this, reopen the Pipulate console, which is going to interrupt what was going on in the background on the server, and just do it again. And I'm the first to admit there's going to be a little bit of GData nuances in all this because, well, because it's the web, because you're using services from Google that you're not paying money for, and they're not 100%. But the value in this is sharing. This is Google Docs, so you can imagine I could have easily shared people in, and we could go about doing a little audit of the sites here. And now a little view of the other tabs. You can see it's set to run every hour. I'm going to switch that to day for the public, so that if you do jump in and start using this, your sheets don't fill in too often. But if I were to erase that entirely, you'll see that the next time I pipulate, it will not try and constrain the creation of rows. It's just going to go ahead and make a new set of rows, taking these asterisk rows as the template, just sort of lifts them up, copies them over, sets it up with a question mark, and then starts replacing those question marks again. So you can imagine how addictive some documents can become. I've been tracking my progress to 5,000 users on YouTube, and I started here back on March 3rd, and I was at 4,367, and you can see I'm running hourly. Hourly is kind of a little overkill, but I'm at 4,425, and today's the 20th, so I'm on this trajectory. I can actually graph this in Google spreadsheets. I can show those trending lines, and you can see how many times it's been run. And you can tell it doesn't miss a beat. Even though GData is not 100% reliable, You just make up for it by hitting against it more than one and catching anything you missed and using time windows to make sure everything's been processed. So that is Pipulate, and I hope you enjoyed watching the demo. I know this video is a little bit on the long side, but I hope you understand. I'm trying to create something kind of big here in the free and open source SEO community, social media, etc. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to go over to pipulate.com and try and use it.